Yes, today we are going to see break-even analysis. This is an important topic for students of grade 12 and grade 13 because we get question on this topic very often in paper 2. So it is important for students of grade 12 and grade 13 to master this topic properly. So break-even analysis. Before we go to see what is meant by break-even point, we are going to see how to calculate profit. Profit is the difference between total revenue and total costs. A business can make profit. In this case, total revenue will exceed total costs. Or profit can be calculated by the difference between contribution and fixed costs. In case contribution is greater than fixed costs, the company will make profit. A company can make losses. In this case, total revenue will be less than total costs, or contribution will be less than fixed costs. Still, a company can reach a situation where it is neither making a profit nor a loss. At this point, there is no profit, no loss. Therefore, total revenue is equal to total costs, or contribution is equal to fixed costs. So, break-even point is a point where a company is neither making a profit nor a loss. At this point, total revenue is equal to total costs, or contribution is equal to fixed costs. Break-even can be calculated in terms of units or in terms of revenue. So in order to understand properly what we mean when we say break-even units, let's take an example. A merchant has bought 1,000 bread, each costing $20. A merchant has bought 1,000 bread, each costing $20, and he will sell the bread for $50 each. So the merchant has spent $20,000 to buy 1,000 bread. So this is the cost, the money spent to buy the 1,000 bread. So he is going to sell each bread for $50. How many breads the merchant should sell in order to cover the cost of $20,000? So in this case, the merchant will have to sell 400 bread in order to cover the 400 times $50. This will give us $20,000. So the merchant has to sell 400 bread in order to cover the costs. So it is important to know the break-even point, because if the merchant sells less than 400 bread, he will make losses. If he sells above 400 bread, he will make profit. So it is very important to know the break-even point, because at this point we can know whether to increase output or to reduce output in order to make profit or to break even. So that's why it is important to calculate the break-even point. Break-even point can be calculated by break-even point is equal to fixed costs over contribution per unit. So what we mean when we say contribution per unit is a difference between selling price and variable costs. So if we want to calculate contribution per unit, contribution per unit is equal to selling price less variable cost. Now, break-even point can also be calculated in terms of revenue. In this case, how many units the business should sell in order to get a revenue which will equal to the cost, the total cost. So in this case, break-even revenue is equal to fixed cost over CS ratio, or break-even units times selling price. Now, let us see what we mean when we say CS ratio. CS ratio means contribution as a percentage of sales. CS ratio is a very important element in cost accounting because it enables a business to calculate variable cost of sales. CS ratio 20%, what does it mean? So let us see the interpretation of CS ratio. Let us see the interpretation of CS ratio. CS ratio 20%. What does it mean? It means that contribution less variable cost is equal to sales less variable cost is equal to contribution. So we represent in terms of percentage. CS ratio 20% means 20%. Therefore we replace contribution 100 and then contribution over sales, sales 100, contribution 20. Therefore, the difference will give us 80% variable cost, 80% of sales. Okay, 80% of sales will give us variable cost. So, CS ratio enables a business to calculate variable cost of sales. If CS ratio is 10%, what will be variable cost of sales? If CS ratio is 10%. If CS ratio 10% means variable cost of sales is 90%. If CS ratio is 40% means variable cost of sales is 60%. So if CS ratio is 15%, it means variable cost of sales is 85%. So this is important to know this ratio, CS ratio. It enables us to calculate variable cost of sales. We can use the CS ratio to calculate break-even revenue. So break-even units. What is the formula to calculate break-even units? Fixed cost over contribution per unit. Break-even can also be calculated in terms of revenue. So in this case, we can use this formula: fixed cost over CS ratio, or break-even units times selling price. So either we use the first one or the second one, we calculate break-even units and we can calculate break-even revenue. Now, margin of safety. You have heard about margin of safety. Margin of safety. It is a range within which the business can operate safer before a loss is registered. But margin of safety, or what we call MOS, margin of safety can also be calculated, in terms of units, revenue, or as a percentage. Margin of safety can also be calculated in terms of units, revenue, or as a percentage. Margin of safety units, what is the formula? Actual sales units minus break-even units. This is the formula to calculate margin of safety in terms of units. Margin of safety revenue, actual sales revenue minus break-even revenue. Margin of safety as a percentage is equal to actual sales units minus break-even units over actual sales units. If we take units, we take all units. If we take revenue, we take all revenue. Actual sales revenue minus break-even revenue over actual sales revenue time 100. So this is a different formula to calculate margin of safety. It can be in terms of units, or it can be in terms of revenue, or still it can be in terms of percentage. Now, let's see this question on break-even. First one, calculate contribution per unit. Contribution per unit is equal to selling price less variable cost. We replace what is the selling price, 150, less variable cost. We have direct materials and direct labor. So this will give us 150, 50, ça nous donne 100. Margin of contribution per unit. Now, how do we calculate? Second, CS ratio, contribution over sales time 100. Here we have the contribution, so selling price sales and time 100. Okay, this will give us contribution over, we have contribution sum over 150 time, this will give us 66.6, means 67%. CS ratio 67% if you have to calculate in this. And then we have to calculate in this question break-even units. What is the formula for break-even units? Fixed cost over contribution per unit. What is fixed cost? Fixed cost 180,000 plus over contribution per unit 100. Therefore, we have to sell 1,800 units in order to break even. 1800 units. We have to sell 1800 units in order to cover the cost. Now, how do we calculate break-even revenue? We can use this formula, break-even units time selling price. What is the break-even units? 1800. What is the selling price? 150. Donc ça nous donne 1800 par 150. Yes, 1800 par 150. Ça nous donne 270 000. 270 000 dollars. If we have to calculate margin of break-even revenue. Now, let us see how do we calculate break-even units. We have already calculated break-even revenue. Now we calculate margin of safety. Margin of safety units. Actual sales units minus break-even units. We have to replace actual sales units 5000 here, less break-even units 1800. Ça nous donne 500, 1800, 3200 units. This is the margin of safety. Margin of safety revenue. Actual sales revenue minus break-even revenue. Actual sales revenue nous donne combien? 150 fois 5000 retire 270 000 break-even revenue. Donc ça nous donne 750 000 retire. Donc we have 150 par 5000. 750 000 retire 270 000. 480 000. This one, margin of safety revenue, 480 000. Okay, here we are. Now we are going to calculate margin of safety as a percentage. Margin of safety as a percentage. Okay, là? 480. Margin of safety as a percentage. Margin of safety as a percentage. Actual sales less break-even sales over actual sales. Now we place actual sales 5000, retire break-even sales 1800, divisé par actual sales 5000. Donc ça nous donne 3200 sur 5000. over 5000. This will give us 64%. 64% to calculate margin of safety as a percentage. Now, the last one, profit or loss arising from sales revenue of 680 000. Profit or loss arising, profit or loss when sales revenue is equal to 680 000. Okay, sales $680 000 less variable cost of sales. Less variable cost of sales. We have obtained this one, CS ratio 67. Therefore, CS variable cost of sales will be 67, 33% de 680 000. Because we calculated the CS ratio. CS ratio. Contribution 100, l'eau 150 fois 100. Nous avons eu combien? 67%. Donc, vous avez 100 sur 150, oui, 67%. Donc, CS ratio 67% means variable cost of sales will equal to 33% of sales. Donc, 33% de 680 000. 33% de 680 000. Approximately 33% de 680 000. Ça nous donne 224 400. 224 400. This one will give us contribution. Then we less fixed cost, will get profit or loss. Okay? We have to replace what is fixed cost. 180 000. Therefore, 224 680 000. We have to deduct 680 000 less 224 400. Ça nous donne 455 600. 455 600 less 180 000. 455 600. On retire 180 000. Ça nous donne 275 600. So here we are concerning the computation of some of the formula and the break-even analysis. So we are going to make a recapitulation. Break-even is a point where a company is neither making a profit nor a loss. At this point, total revenue is equal to total cost, or contribution is equal to fixed cost. Break-even point can also be calculated in terms of revenue. So break-even point revenue means the revenue to be obtained in order to break even. Its formula, fixed cost over CS ratio, or directly break-even units times selling price. We have also seen CS ratio, the interpretation of CS ratio. CS ratio is an important element in cost accounting. It enables a business to calculate variable cost of sales. If we know CS ratio 20%, then automatically variable cost of sales will be 80%. So CS ratio is important because it enables us to calculate variable cost of sales. And then from the CS ratio, we can calculate contribution and then we can calculate profit. We have also seen margin of safety, the range within which the company can operate safer before incurring a loss. So margin of safety, the higher the margin of safety, the higher will be the profit area. The lower the margin of safety, the lower will be the profit area. Because the lower the margin of safety, it means that we will reach the break-even point. So if we reach the break-even point and we go below the break-even point, we are going to make a loss. So that's why it is important to know the margin of safety, the range within which the company can operate safer, the difference between actual sales and break-even sales. So here we are concerning this part, a computation of break-even analysis. Partly we have covered some of the formula. Contribution per unit is equal to selling price less variable cost. CS ratio, contribution over sales time 100. Break-even units, fixed cost over contribution per unit. Break-even revenue, break-even units times selling price. Margin of safety units, actual sales units minus break-even units. Margin of safety revenue, actual sales revenue minus break-even revenue, or margin of safety units times selling price. Margin of safety as a percentage, actual sales minus break-even sales over actual sales for some. So these are the formula that we covered so far concerning this topic, and we will come back later with diagram leading to break-even point units, break-even point revenue, and margin of safety, and so on. Thank you very much for your attention.